and McGinnis, and we're here in an art studio in Boulder, Colorado, here to meet a very talented and versatile artist. Her name's Cha-Cha. Hi, Cha-Cha.
Hello.
Thanks for allowing us to come in your space and talk to you.
Glad to have you here.
Thank you. So let's get started by finding out a little bit about your art. Could you tell us a little bit about how you came to work with all this great stuff in here?
Well, everything's a process, just like life. I wanted to be an artist since I was 5 years old, and I decided that I needed to do this for a living. And I know most people don't start that young, but I would get so caught up in drawing and making things that I would lose track of hours. And to me, it was the highest high I could possibly imagine, and I've never stopped. I studied art in school, high school, college, and then I've never stopped taking classes since I graduated. I'm a classaholic, too.
Oh, great. Well, and from the looks of your stuff, this looks like a calligraphy.
Yes, I first started doing calligraphy when I was 16 years old, and I was in a vocational commercial art class. And since then, it's a lifelong pursuit. I figure after about 50 years of classes, I'll have it down. I'm pretty good now, but there's so much to explore. It's a whole nother world. But I've combined calligraphy and my steel work.
Oh, okay. So you work with steel. I see bronze, aluminum, and
little
I see some
clay
over here. So you work with a lot of different.
Yeah, I was a paper maker for a while.
Paper.
Did some
What
graphic
do you make
work.
with paper?
I did sculptures and pins and whatever I could to make a living. I've been a self-employed artist my entire life.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know. I don't know how that happened.
So can you tell me about some of the pieces here in this space?
I'll start with a piece across the way. When I first started doing metal work, you know, when you're first starting welding, you're just dealing with flat planes. And I got bored after a while of just putting flat planes together. So then I started taking some blacksmithing classes and going to some workshops. And at the time, I was working with a whole series of cages. And the piece across the room that we're talking about is a cage that's bust-free. It's like I've busted out of the cage. You know, when you look at a cage, people always are looking inside because they want to know what's inside. And this was a chance for me to like push the boundaries. One of the things about steel, one of the things I learned when I went to one of my first steel workshops, they said anything you can do in clay, you can do in steel. It just takes a lot more energy and a lot bigger tools, and you know, it's a lot more dangerous and a lot of heat. But I love the flexibility that metal has. There's a period of time when you heat steel when it's about 2,000 degrees and it's orange hot, that you can use your hands and you can literally do anything and make it move around, and then all of a sudden 8 seconds later it goes back and it's frozen. And I love that malleability and that vulnerability that steel has.
Some of these pieces back here are some of my favorites. This is it's a golden quality to it. What is that gold?
I'm using a gold leafing technique. I'm using brass, and I like the brass leaf because I have the option of then putting chemical patinas on it and giving it that greenish hue that people associate when they say something's patinaed. And I also love the shininess of gold. I guess I like the bling factor.
I like it too.
But and I've been a calligrapher since I was 16 years old, so it's part of my exploration as being a calligrapher of taking what I'm working with on these pieces that are behind me are their epoxy. And epoxy, when you mix it up, it has the consistency of honey, which is sort of counterintuitive because all these pieces that you see have a calligraphic mark, and the nature of calligraphy is a movement that's quick, and it catches that movement in time. But I'm doing it backwards in that I'm drawing out in pencil my brush marks, and then using popsicle sticks and toothpicks. I am literally moving them around and just making them look like they've got movement.
Interesting. Now, do these calligraphy strokes, do they actually mean something?
No, I describe it. Everybody wants to know. I mean, maybe it's human nature. What does that say? You know, and I describe it as a language of feelings. Just like when you hear a song in another language, you have no idea what the words are, but you love it because there's some melodical something that catches you. With my work too, I feel like that's what I'm trying to capture with the calligraphy or the calligraphic imagery. It's just a movement, and people look at it and they either like it or they don't.
Wow.
And you know, and a lot of it can do with the title. This piece here, I Can Only Give You Half My Heart, and what I love about that is that I've given it a name, and you can see the heart in it.
Yes.
But it doesn't have to have it. You know, sometimes it's the name that will draw people in. If I say I can give you half my heart, they go, "Oh, I see the heart." But if I had given it another name, they may relate to it differently. It's sort of interesting how people change once they read the titles.
Now, and you also have pieces that are interactive, where you have like little pieces of the art you can actually move and put them somewhere else, like a magnet.
Yeah, I've been liking magnets because, you know, you put artwork on the wall and it just sits there. You go, oh, you bring it home, and you go, oh, that's beautiful. And you hang it on the wall and you walk away and you occasionally look at it.
Yeah.
But with magnets on some of my pieces, I love being able to take them and if you can walk by in the morning and go, oh, this little guy should be up there. And then the next person comes along and moves it. And it causes you to really play and notice the art instead of it just being a piece of dust collector. You know.
Well, you're very into nurturing people, their own creativity, nurturing because you believe everybody's creative.
Everybody is creative. I mean, when you cook dinner, when you set the table, people who say they're not creative are not giving themselves credit. We are creative people. We have to be creative just to live. You know, you have to go out and interview to find a job. That's creativity. Yeah. You know, to figure out what you want to do and how you want to present yourself. Yeah. Like, again, cooking can be creative. How you set the table. I mean, people come in and go, oh, I can't draw anything. And they can.
So, Cha-Cha, you know that I love your birds. So, of course, I want to talk about them. So they're made with clay?
Mainly porcelain.
Oh,
For the last couple of years, I call it part of my migraine mitigation program. Okay. I've been going in and playing with clay. It usually takes me one whole day to make a bird. And I've drawn them out in a notebook, and then I draw up a pattern, and then from there I spend one day making one bird from 9 to 5. And they're hollow, they're porcelain, and then my favorite is to do the raku firing with them. And then when I bring them, after they've been fired, I bring them back to the shop and I forge steel legs for a lot of them and put them on bases. So it's a combination of both the clay and the steel. What I love about the clay is after the intensity of hammering on metal, I can use my thumbs, you know, and my fingers, and I can go, and it moves instead of going, bam, 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 and it goes that much movement.
So it's
you
a
know?
little bit soothing.
It's almost very feminine as opposed to the masculine part of this.
So the birds, they all seem to have like different personalities.
Oh, and they all have names. Yes, I have to amuse myself while I'm working. So I have a flame-footed, flat-headed foddy, and I come up with names that make me laugh. And then sometimes I even come up with songs that I think the bird should make.
What is the name of the white one over there? I love that one. The one on the...
It's a masked genie bird. Yeah. And I almost forget because I've made about 50 birds so far, and I'll probably make another 50 before I'm done with birds, and maybe I'll move on to something else. But I love being able to play with the clay and the steel together because that way it marries both my mediums.
The whole play thing is big with you. You like to have fun when you work, right?
If it's not fun, why do it?
It goes back to starting at 5 years old. You have that same sense of childlike enthusiasm with your work, which is great.
Well, you know, if you lose your sense of play, you sort of lose your sense of humor. You know, and I think it's important to have that so you can wake up every day. I describe it as, you know, a 4-year-old wakes up in the morning not going, oh God, I gotta play. You know, and everybody has a 4-year-old inside of them that wakes up and is like, oh my God, I'm gonna go play, I'm gonna make art today. And I love that about being able to make art.
Well, Cha-Cha, thank you so much for letting us come in and seeing your wonderful work and seeing how you work. It's just been really fantastic.
Well, I hope you were inspired, and I look forward to showing you more.
I was inspired, and I look forward to seeing more of what you come up with next.
Thanks.